sports car, experimental. Associate these three words together and you get one of the greatest cars of the rising sun. A car that would set the world alight with its distinguishable looks, unique sound and driving characteristics to its own. Of course, I am talking about the Honda NSX. Ask anyone about the first generation and they are sure to say something along the lines of legendary or groundbreaking. I mean, what's not to love? An everyday supercar from a toothpaste company known for building your average grocery getter, with the occasion of making them well performing, to not falling short on its motorsport pedigree even to this day. You can already tell serious development was involved with this car. And let's talk about that serious development, shall we? Powered by Honda's own naturally aspirated V6 known as the C30A, it featured the famous VTEC found in some of the company's greatest cars. This system uses a hydraulic pin to control the cam lobes, allowing more air to go into the engine, which would happen somewhere around the mid-rev range. Not only that, it also included a variable volume induction system which works similar in Toyota's 4A engines. Each cylinder has two intake runners, which the second one does not operate until the same time VTEC engages. All of this benefits for having 280 horsepower and 210 pound-feet of torque. The interesting thing about the C30A is that it had forged pistons with titanium rods so it can withstand the hard driving near the limit of 8,300 RPM. It was also the first mass-produced car to feature these elements. Paired with an aluminium monocoque chassis, a 5-speed manual gearbox, double wishbone suspension with forged control arms and forged wheels, it all seems like a pretty good recipe for a great car. At one point Honda did seem enough, however it wasn't. During the prototype stages they asked someone with the know-how to test the car at the Suzuka Grand Prix track in 1989, none other than 3-time world champion Mr. Ayrton Senna. Honda were expecting great things for Senna to say, but the only thing he said, and I quote, "I'm not sure I can really give you appropriate advice on a mass production car, but it feels a little fragile." This led to Honda tweaking the chassis to the point that it was 50% stiffer than before and 40% lighter than a steel equivalent. But you've probably heard of this story before, so let me give more insight on the overlooked development stages. While Senna famously helped with the chassis, F1 and Indy racers Satoru Nakajima and Bobby Rahal assisted on perfecting the double wishbone suspension. The setup featured a compliance pivot in the front so that the toe alignment did not change when the suspension was being thrown around from hard driving. The benefit of this for the NSX is that it could stay in control over bumps that usually would cause the tyres to lose traction, known as bump steer. So what does this all add up to then? Simply, one of the greatest cars of the rising sun. After press testing in its initial debut in 1990, it received praise upon praise with quotes such as, "All of our current cars are now completely irrelevant." This did not stop at the press, however. Demand from customers was so high in the United States that dealers were keeping their NSX inventory to prevent the cars from leaving so soon. And in Japan, there was a waiting list that went on for 3 years. This is all because the NSX had the perfect blend of practicality from everyday use and driving engagement when the open road is ahead. This ended up creating a new benchmark for sports cars to meet. Other variants were made over the course of the lifespan, including a refresh in 2002, and in 2005, the production of the NSX ended. In 2007, it was teased that a second generation NSX was in the works and that it could be powered by a V10 engine. This wasn't possible due to the economic conditions leading to scrapping the project entirely, but it did not stop Honda from making another NSX, which is what we received in 2015. In the Detroit Auto Show, the car was low with a sleek design just like the predecessor, but this time it was powered by a transversely mounted, now hybrid V6 and was ready to take on the likes of the Ferrari 458. In its first few years, it received good word from the press and has been presented with a couple of awards such as Road & Track's 2017 Performance Car of the Year and Business Insider's 2016 Car of the Year. This is mainly down to the hybrid system paired with a 3.5 litre twin-turbo V6 giving out 573 horsepower. It also made use of the electric motors in the front wheels to make it an all-wheel drive car. This led to better efficiency and improved acceleration. As time went on, the NSX became more and more overlooked that even brand new examples were depreciating from the original $156,000 price tag. And allow me to address the elephant in the room of why that happened. Identity. New sports experience. As times have changed since the 1990s, so did the NSX, to the point that it didn't bear the experimental moniker that it should have. The biggest change between both generations is technicality and technology. Despite being praised for having driver feel, it's had its fair share of criticism, which affected the spirit of the Honda sports car. In addition to the all-wheel drive and the electric motors, it increased the weight of the car to over 1,700 kilograms, nearly matching the front-engine 4-seat Nissan GT-R. To make it more confusing, the NSX's lead designer describes the car as, quote, an American muscle car with an Italian exotic car's body. Yeah, just take that in for a minute. An American muscle car with an Italian exotic car's body. Some of that criticism that the NSX has received was from Jeremy Clarkson in the Sunday Times. Statements such as the steering having a curious wobble when the car settles on a bend, and mentioning about the computer systems in the car having a think about its gearing and power delivery when you put your foot down. Similar things were mentioned by former racing driver Keiichi Tsuchiya, which the steering let him down during a Tsukuba battle between a GTR and a Porsche 911 Turbo S on the TV show Hot Version. So how does one improve the second generation NSX? How can it go back to being a driver-orientated sports car it once was? How can it retain the spirit and possibly the new sports car experimental moniker? Remove the unnecessary. It can perform the same, if not better, without the electric motors up front, and if it only relied on the electric motor that's paired with the engine. It can still keep the car environmentally friendly and can also be used as a curve system in its track mode like a Formula 1 car. Not only that, it would also lead to a lower bonnet line using less resources, therefore less weight, as well as making the car rear-wheel drive. Some power may be lost, but it can be delivered better this way. Another thing that is unnecessary is the computers. It separates the connection between the driver and the car rather than uniting them together. Getting rid of those will bring back the driver engagement the first generation had. Speaking about Honda's involvement in Formula 1, they have the opportunity to get a Formula 1 driver to help develop the car since they got back into the sport supplying engines in 2015. Formula 1 drivers can give the best feedback on even the most intricate parts just so the whole car is more competitive. Honda now has the opportunity, as we now have drivers such as Max Verstappen, Alexander Albon, Pierre Gasly and Daniel Kvyat, who all have potential to make the NSX better overall. The Honda NSX is a great car and it will go down in the history books, but if the new car wants to get that same treatment, Honda need to have a rethink so it can go back to being a new sports car experimental. Thank you guys for watching this video. As you can see, this one's a bit longer and more technical. I also apologize for the new footage. I can't get any pictures up due to the fact I'm using new software. I'm just trying to get used to it. But comment down below, start a discussion with me, like I don't mind, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.